Greetings from Goblin Valley, Nissedal, Norway. I'm here, so you don't have to be. Today I'm going to talk to you about the Washington RDA from 5G Vapes. This is a 24mm dual coil, squonk ready RDA. As per usual now, I will not do a review. Look elsewhere for the technical details and materials and oh, I don't like this screw and hey, this clamp is fantastic and stuff like that. I won't do it. I will concentrate on airflow, how it actually works with this one, and where you should put your coils and what kind to use. I was of course very intrigued by other reviewers turning their thumbs down. Even one said I cannot recommend this RDA, and I was immediately intrigued and had to have it. So without further ado, let's dive down, look at the lay of the land and a proper schematic drawing this time, and let's see if we can solve this riddle. This is the box it comes in, and freeze frame and read on the back side of it, then you'll see what's in it. And it's a magnetic flap box, and yeah. These are the three parts that this RDA consists of. The drip tip and top cap is one piece. Then you have the barrel and you have the deck. They are each a bit special compared to what we are used to, so we will look at them one by one. This is the Ultim top cap with the drip tip. It is fastened with magnets and it sits really tight. The thing we should notice, is this slit here. And if you look at it this way, you understand that this is an air opening. This is the barrel with 4 corresponding magnets to the top cap part. And notice how thick the top material is. This is like 3 millimeters of metal. And the other thing you should notice is that the air inlet is slanted at an angle, like so. Another thing worth noticing is that the top is domed shape, slightly beveled. And that's all right, that's really nice. And you should notice that these air openings are cuts in the side of the barrel. So the net length of this opening is 8.5 by 2 millimeters. And it's actually corresponding very well to the size of this opening. They are almost equal in net size when you study the actual air coming in through the barrel. And this is the deck with its air openings slanted the other way from the top, moving the air upwards. It has also fairly thick rim, and it has an incredibly short well. It's only about 3.5 millimeters deep well, and a 4 millimeter thick base. So there is some beefy metal around on this RDA, that's for sure. The coils are fastened with a combination of screws and clamp. It's a system that, well, look at other reviews and you will see that it works really well, for the most part. Now, I have never seen a reviewer talk about this centerpiece. Well, they've talked about it, but they said, I don't know what it's doing there. And of course, we now know that it's to prevent the two airflows from the two sides to collide with each other and create unnecessary turbulence. It's just for efficiency. They could have made a massive center block, of course, but anyways, you would still need an isolation material between them, and maybe it was just cheaper to put a piece of ceramics to block the air collision in the center. And it has not changed color for me, it has not cracked for me, and no, I am not worried that this will break up and go into my lungs when I vape. You know, air does not work like that. This is not a pipe with a block in the center of it. This is an RDA, and the block in the center here is hit by turbulence. If it breaks when you vape, it will fall down. Unless you are very cool and vape upside down, then of course it will fall into your mouth. But I don't know who does something like that. I will not say that I'm sorry for my Princess Disney mat, because I love princesses. Yeah. Okay. Now here is the RDA, and just to illustrate, this is the thickness of the top of the barrel, and this is the thickness of the deck. So these are massive parts, and also the center block parts are really big. And look, this is the depth of the well, and this is the part it is resting on. Yes, these drawings are accurate in 10:1 scale. Now let's look at this airflow first. I will not go into detail and footage and stuff like that, but this is an airflow system that I'm intimately familiar with for some reason. Sorry for me talking in riddles from time to time, but there are something I just will not show you. But I will explain how all of this works when we get to it. First of all, these air holes are 2 by 8.5 millimeters. That gives us 17 millimeters square opening. Coming in here, and as we all know and have seen already, this is highly directional. And the air will go in a straight stream like this until it encounters an object. Either the top of the block here, or it just goes straight up and up the drip tip. The other opening is very interesting, because as you saw, this is slanted. But when I got this RDA, I had a really surprise, because I saw when I mounted the top cap, we had this shape in the other end. I thought the airstream would go like this and meet here, which would put your coil like smack bang in the middle, being hit like this. And to be honest, that's really why I bought it. Now I discovered that because of the cap, when you put it down, the air moves really, really different. I have studied this, as I said, intimately, and I have also done different studies of different angles and lengths and stuff. I know millimeter by millimeter how the air is influenced by an opening like this. And also supported by computer simulations, the air coming in from here will not move like so. It will go straight down. And the opening here is almost as big as the one here, this is well, the initial opening is actually 1 times 15 square millimeter. So that means 15 square millimeters total. So these two openings combined gives you 32 square millimeters of opening on only one side. A whopping 64 square millimeters of openings. That is the biggest I have ever seen in a 24 millimeter RDA. And not only that, but the openings are highly directional, and as we see on the jet streams, they move very, very interestingly also. First of all, Clapton coil users, you know I love and hate you all. Put your coils here. Why? Well, it's really, really obvious if you know about the two-step chamber theory that I have now proven in my airflow on single coil RDAs. The thing that will happen is, because direct airstream on a Clapton coil is not very efficient, you should block off the opening here and the opening here. The ceramic piece is actually lying 0.5 millimeter deeper, so you get fairly amount of space in the center here. But you will have a high pressure system evolving here when the air comes in, and that air will seek to go by your coil and up. So if you have Clapton coils, high and towards the center. So that's the easy part. Now, how to build correctly with a flat wire coil. The thing is, I think this is made for flat wire coils. It's the only coil that can produce vapor enough so that you get a cool experience. I mean, really interesting experience with both airflows open. Because all reviewers says, close this down, use only this one. And then I say, well, what's the point in buying this RDA? Then just buy a Mad Dog RDA, for instance, or a dot RDA with a slanted upwards airflow. There is a reason why it has two and why the air is so massive. It means you can really, really, really challenge this RDA with the use of flat wire coils. And I take it as a challenge to use this as intended with both airflows open and still have a good vape of it. So, the maker of this coil, as you can see from where the openings are, the openings for mounting your wire is here, and the wire will stick out like that, and they of course want you to put your coil inside the well, so that is the placement that the design you see is built for. This is now simulating a 5 millimeter outer diameter, 5.5-ish outside diameter coil. And as you can see, now the air will hit the coil like so, and the air from above will hit the coil like so. The thing that's wrong with this picture is that the air here hitting here will mostly bend off upwards, trying to follow it around here, and only very, very little air will actually find its way through this gap and try to follow the coil. But from what we know of separation points, it will probably have a separation point around here. So that will leave this part of your coil not directly cooled. That is a bad thing, because the airflow in this configuration will mostly be concentrated here and fan out like this. So hitting here, it will only backtrack just slightly following the curve before breaking off in pure turbulence. This is not an effective placement for a flat wire coil in this construction. So let's move it. Let's move it here to a far more interesting point. And I will remove this now and make a drawing, so I can draw in the airflow around it. Like so. Now, this is now 5.5 millimeter outer diameter. This air will move a little bit this way at first. The concentration of the air will move this way. So you need this millimeter of space between the barrel and the coil. This air, some of it will move back here. It will encounter this flow, and the flow will turn back and enter this flow, pushing it only slightly off this point, and the Coanda effect will carry this air around here for the most part, until they encounter this tiny flow. This collision will be won by this air going out like this and actually straight up, eventually up your drip tip. Some air will be peeled off. That air will encounter this center block and go turbulent and move upwards. Now, this is the stuff that happens inside this RDA. If you place it, of course, in the perfect spot for a flat wire coil. So let us just build something that deserves this crazy amount of air and that actually produces vapor with everything wide open. And here are the coils. They are 20 gauge cancel, hammered very flat, 0.16 millimeters thick wire and 2.4 millimeters wide. And as guiding lines, you can see that the coils should be almost as high up as the center posts, and they should be as far out to the sides as possible. And you see there is a danger of shorting them against the barrel at this corner and this corner. So be aware of that and have the safety distance of 0.5 millimeter, and make sure you are well into this slanted air opening on each side here, like so. That should be just perfect. Lastly, a warning is in order. These coils are at 0.09 ohms. I'm planning to run 200 watts through them. That is the equivalent of a parallel mech mod. I will step up my energy levels gradually while I break the coils and cotton in. But because this RDA is able to run that hot, these coils are like Formula 1 at full turbo. You really have to know your stuff. And I'm not talking Ohm's law or battery safety. I'm talking you should be so accustomed to your vaping that you know 3 draws in advance that you are about to get a dry hit. You should really be that good at vaping that you can recognize the instant your cotton lacks a little bit of juice. So you should also wick super hard on these coils. And that is important for the cooling effect of them also. And we know for spatter and everything else. So this build and the power I'm going to put through this are for those who has followed all my videos and understand all this stuff what's going on. So to use this RDA at its max and use the flat wire coils at their max, that is potentially dangerous if you don't know your stuff. Yeah. Okay, now before we get going, I will repeat my warning. This is for very, very advanced vaping only, and way above knowing Ohm's law. If you misplace your coils with a millimeter or two, or if you don't know when you get low on juice, you will have a really, really unpleasant day. So with that out of the way, why doesn't this slow boat of a Norwegian just reduce the airflow and vape it at lower wattage? Because I'm doing this at 200 watts. Well, the reason is twofold. The one reason is that the top airflow is either on or off. You have to turn it 90 degrees and it's shut off, or there is no setting in between. And if you reduce the bottom airflow, the top airflow gets out of alignment and will miss the coils. So that's why I don't reduce it. And the second reason is that I always use the RDAs at their strength and limitations. Like when I talked about the Aeronaut, I, to all my fans' shock and horror, put a Clapton coil in it. Because it's designed for Clapton coils. I found out, and the guy who made it congratulated me and said I hit the nail on the head with that one. And so you shouldn't. And when people review this one, they put their Clapton coils in it, and claims that, oh, it's so lame and weak with the airflow open. Well, use a more efficient coil then and play to the RDA's strength. And yeah, well, okay, that's that. Now, let's just vape it. 200 watts, 20 gauge flat wire coil. It's the max this one goes. And as you see, my draw is much shorter than with other RDAs because of the big airflow, and you have to cool the coils down. So let's have a follow-up. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen, the first decent RDA made for fully exploiting the flat wire coils. You could now argue, well, what about the energy saving aspects of using the flat wire coils? Well, you use shorter draws, so it's okay. You save some energy. But the main issue here is that if you use Clapton coils to get a decent vape out of it with everything open, the residual heat of the coil will make the juice boil after you have taken a draw, and the barrel will get red hot. The flat wire coils have only a fourth of the residual heat, so the barrel stays comfortably warm. And the vapor is not hot, it's not lukewarm, a little bit above lukewarm, and it is packed with flavor. It's really, really cool. I think everyone who uses flat wire coils should buy a Washington. They are not expensive, and it will be the biggest brush or the longest sword in your collection, because it's able to do stuff like I just showed you with coils and a setup like this. It's truly, truly an amazing cool RDA. So congratulations 5G Vape. Someone finally did it.